Hello, on this volatile Tuesday, we have a rapidly deepening area of low pressure that has moved out of the Rockies overnight. Yellow lines here, those isobars, the lines of pressure bunched together. That means strong south winds pushing in warmth and moisture. This is a developing low, what we call Lee cyclogenesis, which means the low spins more quickly as it moves out of the mountains, as that column stretches. And the other key ingredient, a very strong upper level low, which when we measure lows aloft, we're measuring cold air aloft, which is necessary for instability. If you want heat and moisture to rise, you got to cool it off rapidly aloft, and that's what will be happening with that. In fact, the weather balloon data from the National Weather Service office in Boise, Idaho last night showed a record low for that middle of the atmosphere. We measure that middle pressure, 500 millibars, sort of the middle of the atmosphere, and what height that occurs tells us how cold that air is aloft, and this is pretty cold. So this is a new record for them for the month of April. And in fact, the models are hinting at this is a once in at least a decade, if not more, kind of low aloft for this time of year, for this date at least. And that passes right over the Dakotas, Minnesota. So that's cold air aloft. That's why partly we're going to be cold after today, but also why this system is developing so quickly, because as you create that upward motion rapidly, air's got to come in to replace it. And so that's why this warm, moist air moves all the way from starting in Oklahoma to southeastern Minnesota by this afternoon and evening. That will be sufficient if we can get into Minnesota to create those severe storms. It's not going to be really hot today. We're not talking summer temperatures, 50s and low 60s across southern Minnesota, but just south of here, there will be some energy, definitely. We're talking 80s to near 90-degree temperatures in eastern Nebraska, southwesternmost portions of Iowa, and that warmth and moisture will be moving in aloft, so that will at least create elevated supercells, which means supercells organize storms, but maybe too far up to produce tornadoes for much of central Minnesota at least, but we could see just enough of that activity make its way into southeastern Minnesota. So this is looking at the significant tornado parameter, where we combine shear as well as instability and potential energy, all to look at, okay, where's the best area that could produce some significant tornadoes? And that's definitely across Iowa today, but again, some of the southernmost counties of Minnesota could see that risk of some tornadoes here this evening and into the early overnight. So not great timing. You know, half of this severe weather may come after dark. Moderate risk of severe storms, which is actually pretty high. And for this time of year, this far north, this is unusual to have a moderate risk of severe weather right up to the Minnesota-Iowa border. So we'll break down some of the other parameters here. We are looking at a high wind threat too, so those downburst winds from the storms, highest again across Iowa, but again, we can't rule out southern Minnesota. Even in some of those elevated cells, we can get some pretty high wind gusts, and also some large hail might be the best bet of severe weather across southern Minnesota. Those elevated storms can definitely still produce large hail, but again, the greatest risk of more widespread hail is going to be across portions of Iowa. So here's looking at the timing of those storms. We could have some scattered, mainly rain showers this afternoon, which again could hinder severe weather as it'll cool things off. But we'll watch for cells to develop in eastern South Dakota in the evening, and also Iowa. And these are the strong storms. Once we head to 10, 11 o'clock and then move through, create kind of a bow here, potential widespread straight line winds across Iowa. And again, we could be on the northern edge of that. After all this moves through tonight, we're talking about snow showers rotating in on the backside. It's worth mentioning North Dakota is looking at a potentially record-setting blizzard, worst blizzard in 25 years, and then snow spreads across northern Minnesota into Thursday. The northwestern cornermost part of the state is where we could see up to 6 to 12 inches in those northwesternmost counties, but back in North Dakota, we're talking 2 to 3 feet of snow possible for some areas, along with 50 to 60 mile per hour winds developing, which will create blizzard conditions. Probably not much, maybe a little slush in the Twin Cities Thursday or Thursday night, but it is going to be cold regardless. Look at the highs here by Thursday, upper 30s, below freezing in northwestern Minnesota. Normal highs are in the 50s and 40s across the state. So this is cold, and it looks as though, I'm afraid to say, we stay here. This is the 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. Much favored below normal conditions for most of central and eastern parts of the country. There is some hope maybe of a pattern change by the end of next week, but hunker down here for a 6 to 10 day period that will be well below the normal highs, which are climbing to close to 60 by the end of next week. It's about 57 today. Those evening storms, again, they may not reach the metro till about 9, 10 o'clock, and then falling temperatures tomorrow, starting the day at 50, 30s by midnight tomorrow night, and then a cold Thursday, Friday, but really it's still pretty chilly here right into the weekend, low 40s. As I mentioned, normal high, it should be about 15 degrees above that, so we stay pretty chilly.